Does this video really need any introduction? Guess what we're doing today? I got 21 pounds worth of bacon here. My wife has been diligent throughout the years in buying bacon and sticking it in the freezer. But now it's time. I need to clean out some of the freezer to put in all the food that we're buying for Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner and New Year's Eve. And so I need to make some space. So I'm pulling all the bacon out. And right here is just 21 pounds of probably about 30 pounds of bacon that I have in there. So the first step we're going to do, I'm going to render all this bacon in the oven. I'm just going to hang the bacon over the racks at a low temperature. Bacon fat will begin to render at 140 degrees, and we're just going to leave it in the oven until all the bacon fat starts to melt off and the bacon is rendered. And as much as we'd like to have the nice pieces of bacon, all this bacon is just going to be crumbled up because eventually we're going to vacuum pack this, and that's just going to get crumbled up anyway. So time to open all this up, hang it on the rack, render it, and then prepare it for the freeze dryer. For those who are new to doing bacon, this is kind of the way I do mine. I have almost 9 pounds of bacon here on my rack, and you want to make sure that you have a way to catch all the drippings. You do not want to have any of the bacon fat go down on the bottom of the oven where either the gas flames are going to be or the electric element is going to be, and have it start burning and smoking. That's not good for anybody. So you can see I have this large cake pan here, and I have about 1 inch on both sides, on the sides and the back and the front, to capture everything, even if it starts to splatter. And you can kind of see how everything is, because if you take a look at how far down this bacon comes, you know when you're done with your bacon when it's going to be about half the size. So this bacon is actually going to shrivel to about here, and when the bacon stops dripping, that also gives you an idea when you're going to be done with your bacon. Now fat will start to render at about 140 degrees, and most ovens don't go that low. You can cook and render at 140 degrees, but it's going to take a long time. But we're also going to be doing some of the rendering in the Harvest Right freeze dryer. So I'm going to go ahead and set my oven to 250 degrees. Plan to do this for probably about 2 hours to let this render, and your house is going to smell like bacon. And if you have company coming over, they're going to smell bacon. So that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. So we're going to go ahead and get this started, and we're going to come back and check on it throughout the day. This is our bacon at 30 minutes. There's a lot of moisture beating up around the outside of the oven. Bacon is about 60 to 70% moisture. So there's going to be a lot of moisture coming out of your oven as you're rendering all this fat. And one other thing you'll notice about bacon is the thickness. Some of these pieces of bacon are almost 3/16 of an inch thick. Some of these are quite thin. It all comes down to each package basically has a pound of bacon. Some manufacturers will do it thick, some will do it thin. And that can kind of pose a problem when it comes to rendering, because the thinner pieces of bacon will render much faster than a thick piece of bacon. And some of these pieces of bacon will be a lot fatter and have more fat than some of these other ones will have more meat. It's just the luck of the draw. 90 minutes. You can see that the bacon is retracting and starting to shrink. It's been 2 hours, and this is the final product. If you look at the before and after picture, you can see that the bacon has shrunk down quite a bit. That's a good sign. If you kind of take a look at the fat, it's almost translucent. It's no longer that white color. And if you take a look, the drips have slowed down almost to nothing. I mean, there's an occasional drip, but that's what we're looking for. We're looking for almost no dripping coming off the bacon. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the oven here. Take the rack here and give this a little bit of a shake. Get rid of some of the drippings there. And we're going to go ahead and take this rack out and take the bacon off. The thing you can do with all this bacon fat, you can see I probably have about a quart of bacon fat. I can either let this bacon fat cool and congeal and to scoop it out and throw it away, or I can take all the paper towels. I'm going to go through and throw the paper towels in here and soak up the bacon fat and throw it away. So you can either sop up, let it congeal, or use paper towels. But there is a lot of bacon fat in this tray, so that's one of the things you're going to have to deal with. I laid out a bunch of paper towels, and we're going to go ahead and take all the bacon off the rack and put it onto the paper towel and dab any excess fat off of this. And then we're going to go ahead and weigh it to see how much fat we're able to remove. So it looks like we'll have 1,494 grams of bacon, and that comes down to 3.29 pounds of bacon. So with that being said, we were able to remove 5 pounds and about 9 3/4 ounces of fat from processing the bacon in the oven. But we're not done yet. We're going to remove some additional fat in the freeze dryer. So right now, we're going to put this bacon aside, and with all these extra paper towels I was telling you about, all these paper towels can go into my drip pan in the oven and soak up all that bacon fat. The next step is I'm lining my Harvest Right trays with paper towels to absorb additional oil and grease during the freeze dryer cycle. This is the only time when I'm going to take the temperature of my freeze dryer past 130 degrees, which I traditionally do, and crank it up to about 150 degrees. That will help remove additional oil and fat from the bacon. And I'm going to weigh my trays to make sure I have the same amount of bacon in each tray so that the trays get done at the same amount of time. Then after that, they go into the freezer. My bacon is all pre-frozen, and I went ahead and weighed it so I can measure the weight before and after to see how much water was sublimated out of the bacon. Now, one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to cover the top of the bacon with some paper towels. Now, the bottom of the trays were covered with paper towels. I'm going to cover the top of the trays, and the reason is because I'm cranking the heat on my freeze dry up to 150 degrees. Bacon fat will start to render at 140 degrees, so at 150 degrees I'll get some additional rendering during the freeze dryer process, and I don't want anything to splatter inside my freeze dryer and inside the shelf assembly. So I'm going to cover each shelf with some paper towels just to keep everything a little bit clean. And you don't need to worry about the paper towels hindering the formation process. The moisture can get out just fine. This is the bacon straight out of the freeze dryer, and I have the different reductions in moisture. So altogether, I was able to pull 290 grams of moisture out of all this bacon. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to combine all this bacon together and see what the total amount of loss is with moisture and oil combined. This is my first batch of bacon. We started at just about 9 pounds of bacon. It was actually 8.9 pounds of bacon. And we ended up at 2.45 pounds. So we were able to render a whole lot of fat and moisture out of this bacon. And now this bacon, I mean, it's fairly dry, and it still has some fat and oil to it. And so we're going to go ahead and package this up. I'm going to use Mylar bags to do this. And the most important thing is that all this is going to be vacuum packaged. The goal here is to remove all the oxygen, and I will be using an oxygen absorber. And a lot of these pieces are nice and large, as you can see, which would look good next to some pancake and eggs. But when I vacuum pack my bags, the bag is going to crush all this bacon into much smaller pieces. But in the future, I'm going to be using this for cooking, like making, baked beans and such. If you want to maintain these nice big pieces of bacon, you'd probably have to can these in a jar, but I don't do it that way. So on to packing and on to storage, but this is what I have, and I got much more bacon to do. But this is just a revision of my first bacon video, and so I learned some things along the way, and I hope you too have learned some things along the way. I'd like to thank you for your time, and as always, I hope you learned something. So go forth and freeze dry the world, and I will send you another video soon. And right after this video, I'm going to crack open a bag of bacon that has been in storage for 2 years, almost 2 years. We're going to check it to see if there's any spoilage and see how it has fared. So anyway, on with the video. I have right here some bacon I did 22 months ago. And the feelings I have, if this bacon can hold out for at least 12 months, I can't see any reason why it can't last for 5 to 10 years. And right here I have my handy dandy little sniffer. Now, this sniffer I borrow from work, and I'm not suggesting at all that you should run out and buy these. These little devices can cost between $600 and $800 a piece. And they're handy little things to have, but you can also use your good old nose. So anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to open this up and we're going to see what kind of gases are inside. Now on this tester is going to go into alarm, and I suspect it's going to go into a low oxygen alarm down here, and it's going to go into an alarm for carbon monoxide, because one of the gases from the oxygen absorber is a byproduct is carbon monoxide. What we don't want any methane gases, and we don't want any hydrogen sulfide gas. So we're going to go ahead and open this up. Now, one of the problems with this, because this has been vacuum packed, there isn't any oxygen, there isn't any air inside of this to draw out. So air from the inside is going to have to come in, mix with whatever is inside of here, and then come back out. So we're going to snip this corner off right here and stick the tester inside. And it's now down into the bacon. And I'm not getting any readings whatsoever. Ah, there we go. So we are getting carbon monoxide at 100 parts per million, and we're getting very low oxygen, but we're not getting any hydrogen sulfide gas, which is a good thing. So on carbon monoxide, we're at 135 parts per million, and we're at 18% oxygen, but no hydrogen sulfide. So we're going to go ahead and take this out, and I'm going to go ahead and silence this. And we're going to go ahead and open this up, and now we're going to give it the good old smell test. And it smells like bacon. and it's quite crumbly, like bacon would be after vacuum packing it. And it smells normal, and we're going to give it a good taste. And it's very crunchy bacon. And I can still feel a little bit of oil on the bacon itself. But because it didn't have any oxygen for the bacon to go rancid, this bacon has been good for the last 22 months. So it is possible to preserve bacon for 22 months. And if bacon can survive for 22 months, there's no reason why bacon can't last longer than that. That said, on with the bacon that I'm going to freeze dry. I have about 30 pounds of bacon that I'm going to process and freeze dry for my inventory.